Do you want to take control of your health? Hear the truth about dieting and weight loss? Learn the best strategies for maintaining a healthy lifestyle? This is the Yossi Muller Show.
And welcome to the show. I'm Yossi Muller.
And I'm Duddy Muller.
Duddy is a chef with a background in nutrition.
Yossi is a nutritionist with a background in nutrition.
Every show we do, we take another myth and debunk it.
Crush it!
Today's topic is all-in-one diet. People think that if they need to lose weight, they need to lose all their excess weight in one diet.
So Yossi, why do people believe that they need to lose all their weight in one diet?
Because I need to get this over with. I'm doing it anyway. I may as well finish the job. I won't be motivated if I don't do it all at once.
Why are they wrong for believing this? I mean, if I'm flying somewhere, I want to get there without any breaks. I would certainly rather a non-stop flight over a stopover. Why would I want to break up my diet?
You would want a non-stop flight?
Yes.
How do you get off of a non-stop flight? You parachute down?
Well,
I prefer my flight stop.
That's a very valid point.
Now, on a serious note, the reason why people are wrong for believing that they absolutely have to lose all their weight in one diet is because it takes less effort to lose your weight in two separate stages. And a good analogy for this is if someone is chopping wood and they're chopping and chopping trees and having a very difficult time because the axe that they are using to chop is blunt, it is no longer sharp, and you tell the person, why don't you sharpen the axe? And he says, well, I don't have any time. I have to keep chopping the tree. I'm so behind schedule. I need to finish this job. And you say, but if you sharpen this axe, you will be able to do it much faster. No, but I don't have time. I have to. It's the same thing. When you lose weight and then you maintain it for some time and then you lose weight again, during the time you were maintaining weight, you were sharpening your axe. And the next time you lose the weight, it will be so much easier than if you had to do it all in one shot.
Right. So maintenance isn't wasting your time. It's sharpening your axe so that you will be in better shape to diet in the future. When dealing with long-term goals involving real change, it will take time. It must take time. This is not simply a band-aid you can just pull off. You need to remove and regrow your entire food-related mentality and all your food-related habits. Slow and steady is safer, smarter, easier, and very often much more successful.
True. Let's take a person who needs to lose 60 pounds.
Okay.
If you lose 30 pounds and then maintain it for some time, then lose another 30 pounds, that is less work than losing 60 in one shot. It's a lot less work because the more weight a person loses, the more challenging it gets to continue losing weight. That's one. So if someone loses 60 pounds straight, it's much harder than losing 30 and then losing 30. Much harder, more than double as hard. Also, and this a lot of people don't know, the more a person loses, the more difficult it gets to maintain that weight. Mm-hmm. So if someone loses 30 pounds, it's challenging to maintain that. But if someone loses 60, it is much more challenging to maintain that. Now, it doesn't work in proportion. Losing 20 pounds is not twice as hard as losing 10 pounds, even though 20 is 2 times 10.
Oh, yes. I noticed that.
It's 3 times as hard. And losing 30 pounds is actually twice as hard as losing 20, even though 30 is not 2 times 20. And every additional 10 pounds a person loses is as hard as everything you lost up until that point. So losing 60 pounds is so much harder than losing 30. And the same thing is true with maintaining weight. Maintaining 20 pounds isn't twice as hard as maintaining 10 pounds. It's 3 times as hard as maintaining 10 pounds. Maintaining 30 pounds is twice as hard as maintaining 20 pounds, and so on. Every 10 additional pounds you lose becomes twice as difficult to maintain later. So let's explain why losing 30 pounds and maintaining it, and then losing another 30 is so much easier than losing all 60 at once. Losing 60 isn't twice as hard as losing 30. It's 8 times harder. Maintaining 60 pounds is 8 times harder than maintaining 30 pounds.
Yeah, 8 times. You might think, right? You mentioned before, one of the reasons why you might say that I want to lose 60 at once because I'm more motivated to lose 60 pounds. It's more motivating to lose a lot of weight. I have so much weight to lose that I can do so much.
And one would think that that's why it's important to lose all 60 at once, because that's motivating. But 30 is not so motivating.
Losing 60 pounds might be double as motivating as losing 30 pounds. And that's great. Twice as motivating. And being that motivation is so important that you might think that doubling the motivation will for sure be such a huge factor.
But it's 8 times as difficult. So that more than cancels out the motivational boost.
Here's a question. Why don't you just gain weight so that you'll have more to lose? After all, the more I need to lose, the more motivated I'll be. Because it's so much harder to lose the larger amount of weight that it completely negates any benefit, the extra motivation.
Exactly. If I'm 60 pounds overweight and I think that I should lose 60 instead of 30 at a time, I should lose 60. So why don't you gain another 30? This way you can lose 90 and you'll be so motivated.
Oh my gosh. 90 pounds? That's motivation. Also, it won't happen.
And the maintaining piece is something people really don't know, and it is so important. Most people think that it doesn't matter how much you lose. Maintaining is maintaining. However difficult maintaining is, that's how difficult it is. It doesn't matter how much you lose. And they think maintaining 60 pounds is the same amount of work as maintaining 30 pounds. But you have to realize that not only is it more work, it's not double the amount of work. It's not in proportion. It's 8 times as much work. So if you lose 30 pounds and you maintain it until you're used to maintaining it, and it's no longer difficult to maintain because you got used to a new way of eating. So then the second time you lose 30 pounds will be the same hard as the first 30. So the first 30 was an eighth as difficult as losing 60 pounds. The second 30 was an eighth as difficult as losing 60. So it's a quarter as difficult if you do it in 2 stages. And the same thing with maintaining. Maintaining 30 pounds is an eighth as difficult as maintaining 60. So if you do 30 pounds on 2 separate occasions,
an eighth plus an eighth
equals a quarter. So you will be doing substantially less work if you do it in 2 stages, because you will be doing a quarter of the work to lose and a quarter of the work to maintain it.
Right. 75% off sale is a huge sale. 75% off sale in effort towards dieting, towards the same amount of weight loss. That's a huge sale. I say you take it.
And of course, this is not across the board. You have to draw the line somewhere. We're not going to say that someone should lose 1 pound at a time, maintain it for a year, because that's so much easier than losing 60 pounds. Do it in 60 separate occasions. That's ridiculous. And in the other way, if someone's especially motivated and they're on a great program and they're able to lose 60 pounds no problem, they certainly shouldn't break it up in 2 shots. The point we're trying to make is that it's substantially less difficult to do it in multiple attempts, and take that into account. For example, do you know how to juggle?
A little bit. I know how to juggle a little bit.
Juggling 3 balls is harder than juggling 2.
Yes, it is.
And juggling 4 is harder than 3. But it's much harder to go from 3 to 4 than it is to go from 2 to 3. And so on. The most I personally was ever able to juggle was 4. And to go from 4 to 5 was nearly impossible.
It seems that for you, it never got there, so maybe it was impossible.
Yeah, because juggling becomes exponentially more and more difficult the more you add. So learning how to juggle 6 balls isn't twice as hard as juggling 3. It's way harder. And losing 30 pounds on 2 separate occasions is like juggling 3 balls on 2 separate occasions. Losing 60 pounds is like juggling 6. It's 8 times harder than juggling 3.
8 times harder, 8 times more skill needed, 8 times more practice, and 8 times more red-faced family members very animatedly requesting that you practice outside. Okay, so a quick summary, if you don't mind that I referenced the axe analogy from before. If you're not sharpening your axe, you may have more time to spend on cutting, but it won't work as well and will eventually become completely useless. Sharpen your axe. Develop your skills and habits with regard to food.
And it's so important that people understand this idea of losing weight in multiple attempts in situations where it's not realistic, because there are people who aren't capable of doing it all at once, and they'll try anyway, and fail when they could have otherwise succeeded. Isn't it better to lose 30 pounds on 2 separate occasions than to try to lose 60 pounds and lose nothing?
I would say so. So Yossi, what should people do about this?
So what you should do is not set a goal. Not be stuck on any specific number that you have to lose. If you're overweight, try to lose weight. Try to stick to a plan. And be open to switching to a maintenance plan if at any point it's determined that you don't have the willpower to do it all at once.
Right. Sometimes dieting, as in to lose weight, is just too difficult, and the best option is to just do no harm, as in maintenance.
And this is important. If it is too hard for you to lose weight, then it is certainly too hard to maintain weight. Without getting into too many details now, it's really a separate discussion. Maintenance is as hard or harder than weight loss.
Interesting.
Now, it may only be at the beginning of maintenance while you're getting the hang of eating a new way. For many people, once they spend a number of months maintaining weight, it becomes much easier for them to maintain weight. And it depends on how much a person lost, like we said today. And it depends on many other factors, which we should certainly discuss in detail, because whether maintenance is difficult or isn't difficult, or how long it's going to be difficult, or how difficult it will be, is important. In fact, one of the ironic things about maintenance is that if you think it's difficult, it's not so difficult. And if you think it's not difficult, then it is. Most of the difficulty in maintenance is psychological. It's that you go in thinking that it's not difficult.
And you wind up failing because you're not prepared for the difficulty.
And if you go in assuming it's difficult, it may not be as difficult as you thought, but it's really another discussion. But for starters, it's certainly as difficult or more difficult, at least at the beginning phase, than it is to lose weight. That's for sure. So if it's too hard for you to lose weight and you're just like trying to force yourself to do it, it's certainly going to be too hard to maintain. So it's pointless to stubbornly hold yourself to an unrealistic goal because anything that you can't lose, you certainly are not going to be able to maintain.
It's a waste.
So maintain what you did lose and only start dieting again when you have been maintaining long enough so that it's no longer such hard work to maintain and you could start off fresh and lose another 30 pounds.
Okay, so what are some final lessons we can take out of this discussion today, Yossi?
So one is, don't assume that you have to get rid of all your excess weight in one shot. If you have no problem getting rid of it, and that's not something you should decide before you start your diet, it's something you should determine as you're dieting. If you see that you have no problem getting rid of all of it, by all means get rid of it. But if you see you don't, if you see that you are not capable of it, don't assume that it will never happen. It may very well happen at a later point in time.
And more easy.
Yeah. 2, if it's too difficult to lose weight, then you don't have to feel bad that you're not stubbornly holding yourself to some unrealistic goal because you wouldn't maintain it anyway.
So it will not last.
3, don't gain weight.
Yeah, that should be obvious.
It should be obvious, but look at people's actions. A lot of people, if they're not losing weight, I'm not on a diet anyway, or I don't feel like being on a diet, or it's not. So what does it matter if I gain weight or if I stay the same weight? Don't gain weight. If you gain weight, I have an appointment the next week, so let me pack it in. I'll gain 5 pounds before my first initial, I'm starting a diet. Or it's time to maintain weight, and you're like, I didn't get to my goal, so I may as well just gain weight. Or I did get to my goal, so I feel good about myself, so it's time to gain weight. Don't gain weight. When you gain weight, you are creating a much bigger problem than you think. Because whatever you gain is tacking on more pounds to the end. And the final pounds are super hard to lose. It might seem like, these 5 pounds are very easy to lose, but you're really adding 5 pounds to the end when you add 5 pounds to the beginning. And 4, feel great about every additional pound you lose. Don't feel twice as good about 20 pounds that you do about 10 pounds. Feel 3 times as good. Meaning, feel good in proportion to what you're accomplishing. Every additional pound is a much bigger accomplishment than the previous pound. Finally, 5, feel great about maintaining weight. That is the real accomplishment.
Yep, that's true.
And thank you for contributing.
You're welcome.
And that brings us to the end of this episode.
We thank you for listening.
And we also hope that you join us next time.